getting what we've already worked on. Okay, so activity 2 says finding the original price. So this is a little different. Before we were finding out what the new price was when we had a decrease, and now we're finding out what the original price was. So it says work with a partner. You buy a shirt that is on sale for 30% off. You pay $22.40. Your friend wants to know, what was the original price of that shirt? How can your friend find the original price? Okay, this is where I visually love the proportions, but they do give us a little diagram here. So we could go through and actually figure out, based off of this information, okay, that if you paid $22.40, what every box was worth. Well, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 boxes. So you could take $22.40 and divide that by 7 to see that each box was worth $3.2 or $3.20. You could then work off by adding $3.20 to each of those. Now, for me, that's time consuming. So I love, for this one, the proportion setup. Okay, so if I got 30% off, that means it decreased, the original price decreased 30%, right? So that means that if it was 30% off, I paid 70%. So 70% of the full cost was 100%. Now, when you're working off of a proportion and you're using proportion or percents, when you punch them in on your calculator, you don't have to do the 0.7. You can leave it as just 70. Okay, so then here's where it gets tricky. My $22.40, that was my sale price, right? So my sale price is on the top. That's where my discounted amount was. Now I can cross multiply, divide. So if I do 22.40 times 100 and then divide that by 70, it gives me $32. Okay, if I had continued in the fashion that I did, well, each box was worth $3.20 and I had 10 boxes, so we could take that times 10. But I had to get that $3.20 by working off of these 7 boxes made $22.40. Okay, but once again, you're not always going to want to take the time to draw a diagram. Here's another visual representation that you could use. Okay, so let's go ahead and move on to activity 3. So that's working with finding an original price. Or we could have worked off of, another thing was $22.40 is 70% of what number, if you like to set it up that way, but I know a lot of kids struggle with that wording. Okay, so activity 3, this is on pages 98 and 99. Oops. It says you own a small jewelry store, you increase the price of jewelry by 125%. So this is where we're going to be working off of a markup. Eventually they'll start calling this a markup. So we increased by 125%. So you're going to pay the 100% and then you're going to increase it another 125. So we're going to add our 100 to that, which means it's 225%. Okay. So it says work with a partner, use a model to estimate the selling price of jewelry, then use a calculator to find the selling price. So what they've done is they went ahead and once again, they split this up and they said that your cost was $250. So our jewelry store, the cost for us was $250. If we mark it up 125%, how much are we going to sell it for? So they want us to find that end price, what I'm going to ask a customer to pay for that. So there's a couple different ways I could go through and figure out what each box is worth. So I know that they're $250 for these 4 boxes. So if I took $250 and divided that by 4, I could find out what each box was worth. And that's $62.50. Okay, now I have 10 boxes, so I could take that answer times 10 if I wanted to. So that's one method, which is going to give me $625. Okay, the other method is I could go revert back to what I learned in section 2, and I can go ahead and set it up as my increase. So I increased 125%, so it was 2.25% of times 250. Okay, that should give us the same answer. And when I punch it in on my calculator, 2.25 times $250 gives me $562.50. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Aha, I see what I did. What did I do? I just assumed that there were 10 boxes like there were previously, and there weren't. This should have been times 9. Good thing I had another method of checking it. So 6250 times 9 gives me 562.50, which is what I actually also had set up. Or when I went through and I calculated this one out on my calculator, this is what I was getting. Okay, so that's another method. The third method is to go through and you can set it up as a proportion. Okay, so you could set it up as 225% over the 100%. And I know you're used to having the larger number on bottom, but the 100%, the original percent or amount was 250. And you can cross multiply, divide. It's still going to get us to that $562.50. This method of the diagram, kind of hard to set up on your own. One of these two methods would probably be a better choice as we start to move on. But this is kind of giving you that visual representation. So what I want you to do is I want you to go ahead and finish out the last two on page 99. And that it's, once again, your cost, so that's how much it's going to cost the jewelry store, and they want you to find that end price. And you can use any of those three methods, whatever method you're comfortable with, okay? And then I want you to go ahead and answer number 4 on page 99. So that's it for the activity. Good luck with this, and just remember there's numerous ways. Sometimes we need that visual when we're first starting out, but we can use previously learned knowledge to also go through. We could set it up as with that increase, decrease, or we could set it up as proportions once we've done that increase, decrease. Good luck with this.